Okay, so we are live on Facebook. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, Salam, Dorud, Sat Sri Akal, and welcome to the cool conversations that we have with inspiring authors at their experience every Sunday at 19:30 hours India time. So welcome, Mr. Orlando Ori Spado. How are
Good
we?
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here.
You're
It's an
welcome. And,
honor.
and and I must say, you're dressed to kill. You're looking like the epitome of the mob boss that you are.
Well, you got me at 7 a.m. my time.
Right. So I've got my way with the mob boss. All right. So every Sunday, Ori, we basically invite authors like you. We focus on three genres of books. The first genre is self-help, personal transformation, personal development, life, leadership, and learning to learn lessons. Something that I specialize in as a leadership coach and a inspirational storyteller. And that's the first genre that we focus on. The second genre that we focus on is biographies, autobiographies, true stories of real heroes and inspiring people who have transformed and made a change in their lives to become champions of change who are now making a difference in our world. And those are the stories I tell in my book, and I think that also reflects in your book, because with the entire journey that you the roller coaster ride that you embarked on right from childhood to your young days in the army, and then to becoming an accidental gangster, and then serving some time in prison, and now coming out of prison and devoting your life to see how you can transform others with your life story. So we're looking forward to listening to your story. And the third genre that we focus on is books that address social, political, economic issues and concerns that are plaguing our world. So those are the three genres of books that we focus on. And the reason to do this is because I always think that reading is the best habit that one can give to anyone, because with a book you can actually travel so many countries and cities with the research done by an author and so on. So that's what
I
we
agree
focus on.
with
And
you there.
yeah, and that's what we call it, the
Reading.
author experience conversations. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I've been reading since I was a little child. Uh, Actually, the library that I began reading at, they just purchased my book back in Rome, New York. But you're right, reading is the best way for people to learn. And we need more people to start reading today uh, so they can learn. And I loved your three subjects. And actually, all three subjects that you talk about are in my book, are
Right.
all in one book.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of self-help and personal transformation from your own story, and there is no better way to learn than from a real story and real experiences of a real hero, and that
Yeah,
that that's the hero's journey that John Campbell talks about.
you
Would,
got it.
would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right. So, I think many people in the audience who have joined us on Facebook Live are looking forward to listening to your story. And what is the reason that you titled the book as The Accidental Gangster? But what I would like you to do is, over the next 10 to 15 minutes, and take your time, no rush, walk us through your life story, your life journey, right from childhood, from your young days to your days in the army, and to what you're doing now, working with several Hollywood projects and legitimate businesses, as you call them in your book. So over to you, Ori. The screen is all yours. The stage is all yours. The virtual stage is
Thank
all
you very
yours.
much.
You're welcome.
Well, I was born in a small town right in the center of New York State called Rome, New York. We lived in a duplex home. Uh, my mom and dad, two brothers, three sisters. We lived on one side. My grandmother and grandfather, my aunts and uncles lived on the other side. Uh, I had a good childhood. We didn't have much. It was during the war, right after the war. My father only made $35 a week, brought up a family of six. But for some reason, at the age, I began hustling, as I call it, at a very young age, began as a paper boy. And then I was a bag groceries in a grocery store. And at the age of 18 years old, I joined the United States Army. I served my country proudly. And I must say it was probably three of the most memorable years of my life. I was ended up stationed in Hawaii, and I definitely learned a lot. Upon my release of the Army, I went back to Rome, New York. My father was ill, not feeling well. I ended up worked at Revere Copper and Brass for a few weeks in the factories before I entered the insurance business with the Prudential Insurance Company, where I became a leading agent and a member of the $1 Million Roundtable. I loved selling life insurance and hospitalization insurance back in those days. I was very successful at it, and I was doing good for the people that I was selling to. I ended up getting my own insurance agency later on. I built that up to several millions of dollars a year. And then my first indictment came in 1979. I lost my license, and slowly but surely, I was being groomed unknowingly, where I've been meeting a lot of people throughout the country, like Meyer Lansky, Frank Costello, Russell Buffalino, Carlo Marcello, all the big bosses that everybody read about. I was meeting these people. And eventually I met Sonny Franchese in New York and Jimmy Cacci out here in Los Angeles. So basically, I always considered myself a renegade, but the U.S. attorney felt differently, had me with the Colombo crime family. I got indicted in 2008 and ended up doing 62 months in federal prison. While in prison, I read over 300 books.
Wow.
And I love reading. I read to this day. It's the last thing I do in the evening. When I say I have a book, I had certain authors that I enjoy reading their stories. And that's what rests me, makes me get peace before I go to sleep at night. And reading has been exceptionally educational, beneficial to me. Even going back to Behringer when I was in grade school, I remember going to the library and reading biographies of famous baseball players, famous people, how they became famous, and I guess it's from those readings that I learned the positive aspects of life. I got very much into motivation when I worked with W. Clement Stone, a combined group insurance company. W. Clement Stone was very close with Napoleon Hill. And I never forget when the first time I read that book, I said, oh my God, this guy has put names to things that I was doing. What the mind can't conceive and believe, you can't achieve. Things of that nature. All right. Quitters never win. Winners never quit.
Right.
All those sayings, and if they are applied properly, they work. They really do. But you got to have it in you also, to a certain extent. Okay, you really do. It was in my blood. Even today, at 76, I still work every single day, 7 days a week. I don't take any time off. How I got to write my book, and I see the sun is shining in over here. Beautiful day we got here. Upon my release of prison haven't been in Hollywood, haven't been known as a Hollywood fixer. I was having dinner with my entertainment lawyer, George Hay. And he looked at me and he says, Ori, I know your story. You got to write a book. Write a book and we'll get the movie made.
So your inspiration to write the book was to get the movie made?
Well, it's in the process,
Right.
We're in meetings and discussing cash, discuss monies and so forth. Okay,
Right.
but going backwards, I said, George, I never wrote a book. I don't know. He said, find a co-writer. Well, all the writers I know out here in Hollywood are script writers.
Right.
And writing a script and writing a book are two different things.
They're two different, yes, absolutely. They're two different
And so,
types of skill sets.
yeah, so one day I just said, how hard could this be?
Right.
Got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I sat down on my computer and I started writing my life story.
Okay.
When I was probably 2/3 of the way through it, I became reacquainted with an old friend of mine that we went to high school who was a writer named
Right.
Dennis Griffin.
Right.
Together we joined and we wrote the first book, The Accidental Gangster. All right, since then we have the revised edition. This is an entirely different book.
Right.
A lot more into it. Totally
Can you show
edited.
us the book again up front, because we couldn't see
Yeah.
it properly?
Yeah.
Yes, I have it on some slides also. Yes. So I want to ask you at this point, what is the reason that you called it the accidental gangster? Does it imply that you were not a gangster by choice, but by circumstances? Or is there a deeper thought behind the title, the accidental gangster?
Well, being in prison and having been indicted, and here I am walking the yard. One thing you do in prison is what's going on here. And one thing you do in prison is that you think a lot.
Right.
And
Because
I remember
you have a
one
lot of
day,
downtime and me time to do some
yeah.
introspection and reflection.
So I was walking the yard. I'll never forget the day. And I said, thinking about the books I was reading, I said, if I ever wrote a book, I would call it The Accidental Gangster.
All right.
Because I'm not like all these other guys that have written books. They were born in New York. Their father was involved in the mafia. You know what I mean? All right. I mean, here I was from a small town, and I ended up involved in La Cosa Nostra and so forth. And I was even honored to be asked twice to, become a made member. But I was smart enough to refuse that.
All right.
And I was lucky enough to get out of doing that there. But I ended up writing the book, and it became a 2-time bestseller. And we currently we have a director, one of the best directors out here in Hollywood, and putting together cast to do the movie.
Right.
So it looks like everything is happening the way my friend said it would.
Right. So, in the book, you speak about sharing friendship and having a close relationship with a lot of mob bosses and mobsters of that time. And you speak about being good friends with them. If I were to ask you, when you were working with several of your friends, as you call them, and like they say, the friends of friends in books where they tell stories of the mafiosi and the mafia, right? So when you were working with these friends, did you feel at that time that you were doing something wrong and that you should not go on this path of crime? Because somewhere in your book you speak about that even if my book inspires one person not to go into that life of crime, I would think that the book has served its purpose. So do you have any regrets, any guilt about what you did at that time? And I'm not just talking about the imprisonment and the sentence you served. I'm talking about some deep introspection and reflection over here
You know,
for redemption and atonement.
that's a good question. A lot of people ask that question.
Right.
Okay. I believe that having regrets is a negative thing.
All right.
I
Brilliant.
firmly believe that everything that I've done in my entire life, the
Right.
good, the bad, and the ugly, there was a purpose to it,
Right.
which was all my destiny, which brought me to what I'm doing today and helping young men, ladies, helping people.
Right.
All right, live a beautiful life, a meaningful life, a good
Right.
life without going into life of crime. Okay, I teach these young men to get a college education, get a trade, find something. First of all, they must love what they're doing.
Right.
And, you know, I talk to these young people
Right.
and I make myself available
You
to
you
them.
you talk to them about your own story.
Well, I talk to them about my story, but more importantly, I talk to them about their story.
Right.
Okay. I
Right.
spend time about their story because there's only two choices you're going to end up. You have, if you go into a life of crime,
Right.
you're going to end up dead or in jail. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know,
Okay.
I like that word you use, Ori, because you know that's exactly what I teach in my books and my, you know, I write books which are stories of real heroes. And you know, they're called the Karma Kari series. And I was inspired because I said, you know, we need to tell stories of ordinary people who are doing extraordinary action and changing our world every day. They're making a difference in our world. And one of the book series under the Karma Kari book series are stories of people who are not only physically broken, but people who are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even morally broken. Like they've done things which are wrong. They've gone onto the path of crime, but they have atoned and they've redeemed themselves, and now they are working towards creating a better future for themselves and for the society, just like what you're doing. But what I want to ask you over here is, somewhere I heard you say it was destiny, and the moment you say destiny, it sounds fatalistic, like you know there was some preordained plan which was made by God. While what we express in leadership learning is that our consequences and our destiny is a manifestation of the choices that we make. Every choice has a consequence, and those consequences, whether right or left, are what manifests into what we call as destiny. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, it is. And, you know, and I mentioned where I was indicted, my first indictment in 1979. I lost my license to
Right,
sell insurance.
right,
Okay. And I've been a hustler, like I said,
right.
since I was 12 years old. And I like making money.
Absolutely.
And
Everyone does.
I still had to make money.
Right,
But here I was, I could no longer sell one thing that I really enjoyed doing and that I was good at. And I had to find other means. So I was able to take the knowledge, the training, and everything and transform that into illegitimate schemes of making money. Different
right,
cons, different robberies, extortions, you name it, I was doing it.
right,
Okay. Because when you're on the streets, one thing about, you know, it's not a job that we're going to get a paycheck on a Friday. You got to earn every day
right.
and every moment of every day. So, you know, if we could take those things that we learn on the street, transform them into legitimate business, manifest them into legitimate sources, you're much better off. I can't hear you. Hello?
All right. I was saying that you enjoyed selling insurance,
Yes,
and most insurance salespeople work on a success fee model, which means that the more you sell, the more you earn, right?
correct.
So from selling insurance to becoming the accidental gangster, what kind of triggered that? What was the reason that I mean, you lost your license because you had made some choices which had some consequences. But after that, was there nothing else that you could do besides going on to that path of crime?
Well, when I look back, of course, there were probably other things that I could have
And
done.
I'm asking you purely in hindsight.
Well, in hindsight, I can't think of anything that I could have done to make the kind of money I was accustomed to making.
Right,
And I made a lot of money as a gangster. I made a lot of money.
right.
Okay. But the problem is you spend it all.
Yes.
Fast money goes fast.
Absolutely. I mean, there's research and studies to show that ill-earned money always has other consequences and vices which one develops. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that? I mean,
And
I'm
you're right.
I'm asking you this purely as a life lesson for everyone who's listening, because there are a lot of youngsters who think it's okay to do things wrong as long as you get to make the money. So what are your lessons that you want to share with people?
That money is not going to do you any good that you make illegally, particularly in today's world. All right, in a world today where everything is done with credit cards. I mean, shit. I might only write 2 checks a month nowadays. One to my rent, one to utilities. Okay, so I mean, we live in a world that everything is monitored. Okay, cash is not really the king like it used to be. Okay, so if you got a lot of cash, what that's going to do is put the eyes of the laws right on you. And I see it happening all the time. Guys who are making illegal money, they're out in nightclubs, buying Dom Perignon, spending thousands of dollars. Come on, where do you get that kind of money?
Right. So you you
Well,
made you made a lot of money and you blew it all up.
yeah, blew it off.
Right.
Every freaking penny. And what you don't spend, the government takes. So it's not worth it, folks.
Right.
Today, I enjoy my life much more. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm content. And I enjoy helping young people have better lives, live a better life, see them doing great things. Because as bad as things are politically throughout the world today, things are still good. Okay. We have certain freedoms. Let's enjoy them freedoms. You know, doing time in prison is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Why waste one day of your life when each day is so precious? Each day that we're on this earth is a blessing. You should be thankful for that there. And make the best and do something good for somebody every day. Brighten somebody's day up. I do it. If I go in the grocery store, I'll know the clerk's name. I say a little joke. I make them happy. How's the family? People like that there. Whatever you could do to make somebody else happy, it'll come back to you 100 times. And I strongly urge and I dictate for people to do that there on a daily basis. Because life is good, folks. I enjoy waking up in the morning and here I am in my own apartment. I got my own books over here. I got my own coffee. I'm able to wear my own clothes. Okay.
So you are grateful.
I don't have no guard telling me what to do. All right. And you don't know how important that is until you have that taken away from you.
Absolutely.
So,
I completely agree with you, Ori, because, like I said, I write self-help books, and one of the self-help books which I've written after doing 15 years of research and over 5 years of writing, rewriting, and editing. It's called the Mojo Inspirator, which is about 0 + 3 mindsets, 7 virtues, and 21 powers. And I'm very happy that, what you just said resonates with what I wrote in the book. I said, after you cross the age of 17 or 18, one, whether you're a man or a woman or from any other gender, go to a hospice at least 4 times every year, which is once a quarter. It will teach you the importance of good health and being alive, right? It will teach you to not take it for granted. And the second thing I say is go to a graveyard or to a cremation or a funeral 4 times a year. It will teach you to stay humble and to stay grounded, because it will teach you that all you are is dust, and unto dust shall you return. And the
I
third
totally,
is, go to a prison, not like Ori Spado did, but go to prison as a volunteer, because most prisoners just wait to meet people. I go to some prisons as a volunteer, and prisoners just wait to meet someone and have a conversation with them. And that will teach you the importance of freedom that we take for granted. And I completely agree with you that there are so many things which are wrong in the world, and yet we live in a democracy, whether it's you in the United States of America or I who stay in India, which is like the world's largest democracy by sheer numbers. We have to enjoy our freedom and understand that whatever choices we make have consequences, and those consequences are manifestation of the choices that we make. So before going forward deeper into the book, Ori, I want to ask you, uh, in your days as a gangster, I mean, you had the moniker of being the Hollywood fixer. What earned you that moniker?
once again, a lot of things in life just happen and they happen by accident. This began by I was hanging out at Dino De Laurentiis' office with Ralph Serpi. There was a film underway. An actor was giving the director big problems, which, you got a budget on the film and you
Right.
want to stay within that budget. When there's delays, it's making that budget go over budget. And they were pulling their hair out. I said, you want me to handle that? I said, I'll take care of it. And I went over, no gun, no other people, just myself. And I went to the studio and I sat down with that actor and I resolved the issues very nicely, very quietly, with no problems. And then from there, it just led that the word got out. Hey, Ori could handle this, Ori could handle that. And I would get the calls from the lawyers, the agents, the studio, whoever. And don't think I didn't do it for nothing. I made money doing it. But, a lot of times I did do it for nothing, just to resolve a problem. And I had the reputation. I was known in that area. And I kept everything quiet as I do today. I don't discuss who, what the problems were, but there were all sorts of problems. And there is a TV show called Ray Donovan, which really good show. And there's actually a couple things in there that they embellished on and made it bigger, of course, that I actually did. So
Brilliant. So what are some of the reflections and the life lessons that you shared in the book? Can you share with the audience? We have several people who've joined us on Facebook Live. Can you share with them what are the life lessons and how can they learn from them and apply it in their life? If I had to ask you to share 5 critical life lessons that you earned in your journey of life, what would those 5 critical life lessons be? Just 5 lessons.
5 lessons that I learned in life. Number one, your health is the most important thing. Without your health, you're not going to be, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else.
Very true.
Number
And I
one,
completely agree with that. And that's a great
right?
lesson, that you need to take care of yourself before you take care of others, because otherwise, and that's the reason they always remind you in a flight that, you wear your oxygen mask first before you get your child to wear the oxygen mask,
Right.
failing which you might end up killing both. Brilliant, great life lesson.
Uh, there's so many different things. I believe in honor. Do everything with honor, respect, and loyalty. And these are things that we're missing a lot of today in today's world. Our children are not learning to be respectful at home.
Right. So what you're
We
speaking
live,
about is to live your life with dignity in a nutshell.
yeah,
Brilliant.
because, in today's world, I'll speak for this country, you got the mom and dad both leaving the house in the morning, both going to work. The kids are left to go to school on their own, come home from school, cook for themselves. They got nobody home to teach them. They got nobody there to teach them what respect is. One of the most important things I think that ever happened in my life was I was required. Our whole family, every single night, was home for dinner. My mom and dad were at that dinner table every night.
No empty chairs.
No empty chairs.
Very nice. Excellent.
And family is very important.
Brilliant.
Keeping a good, strong family together. And sometimes it's difficult, but it's accomplishable. You're able to do that there. And this is where children learn. This is where they learn, at that dinner table.
No empty chairs. That's a very powerful thought. No empty chairs.
Yeah.
Everybody from the family should be there on that dinner table, right? The family that eats and prays together stays together.
That's correct.
Right. So you shared 3 life lessons now. What's the 4th and the 5th? I'm counting.
Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Do the right thing. You're sounding like Napoleon Hill now. Do the right thing.
Napoleon Hill sounds like me.
All right. Napoleon Hill sounds like you. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. All right. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Have you heard of Coach John Wooden, one of your brilliant NBA coaches, basketball coaches, John Wooden?
Wooden?
Yes, John Wooden. He created something called the Success Pyramid, and his life lessons are brilliant. Where he speaks, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Yeah. So that sounds very akin to the learning and lessons from Ori Spado.
Always keep your word. Do what you say you're going to do.
Yes. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And the 5th lesson that you want to share with our audience.
Keep your word.
Keep your word. Keep your word. Very true.
Keeping your word is probably one of the most important. Never tell anybody.
Right.
Very true. Do something and then do not do it.
So you make a
remember that.
You make a commitment, you fulfill it. Yeah, it has to be met and it has to be set and met. Failing which you lose trust and you become untrustworthy. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing those 5 great life lessons. Or if I had to ask you to walk back into time, in your days as a gangster, and what is that one thing that you did which you feel you shouldn't have done today? That one thing which I wouldn't call it a regret now, but in hindsight, it's something which you feel you should have refrained from doing. What is that one big thing that you would have done, which probably kind of has hit your conscience and made you kind of feel that I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done it, no matter what the situation or circumstances. But what is that one thing which you would want to share with us?
Really nothing.
So you really have no regrets about anything at all that you've done in that time?
No, because if I was regretting things, then I'd be living a negative life.
Right.
Okay. There's certain things you gotta have the ability. They're in your mind. Forget about them. Can't think about them.
Right.
You know, I wake up every day and I try to be happy. I try to be positive. Because
So
if I'm not happy, if I'm not positive, and if I'm not doing the right thing, okay, I cannot tell others to be doing that there.
right.
You know, everybody has some sort of regret in their life. We're
Right.
not all perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if you're going to dwell, I got a friend that dwells on one thing that he's done in his life. And every time I talk to him and I yell at him, why are you even talking about it? It's history. Forget it.
You can't change the past, but you can change the
Can't
current and you can
change.
change the future.
Yeah,
Right. So what you're saying is you let go completely.
you got to. If you're hanging on to a negative, all right, your future is going to be a negative.
Very nice. So I like the thought that you let go of the negative, because somewhere then you're accepting that you were doing something negative, but you let go. But would you feel and say that you have atoned for all those things and have kind of has that kind of led to your journey of transformation?
Yes, I've atoned to it. I've done
And
my
I'm not just talking about doing time in prison. I'm talking about personal atonement,
personal.
personal reflection.
Yeah, I feel I've atoned to them. You know, I got to atone to myself, not to nobody else, to me. Okay. I do pray. I'm not a real religious guy, but I
Right.
pray every morning. I
Neither
pray
am
every
I. Yeah,
night.
and I don't pray. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm listening to you say that you pray. Yeah.
But no, I have no regrets. And I recommend anybody, if you got a regret, face it, put it behind you, and just think positive for the future. Because we only have our futures. What happened yesterday is no longer going to happen. Forget about it.
No, and I completely endorse that you cannot change the past, but there's also another very old saying by George Santana where he says that those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat the same in the future. So that's where I was taking you, that have you kind of, I'm sure you've learned your own life lessons from your past and that you want. So let's go, let us let go of the past. Tell us more about the current projects that you're working on, the Hollywood projects and the legitimate businesses that you speak about in your book. What are they all about, and what do you see happening in the future?
Well, I got two books planned for the future.
Okay.
One of them is a motivational book.
And what is that called? What is the
All
title?
right. I haven't come up with the exact name yet,
Right.
but it's going to be, the same things that inspire anybody, inspire gangsters, how you're able to take your mind, how your mind on the street is no different than when you're in legitimate business.
I like that.
Okay.
Leadership lessons from a gangster. Sounds
Yeah.
brilliant, right? Like you have leadership lessons from Jesus, you have leadership lessons from Krishna, you can have leadership lessons from a gangster, because there is a certain leadership involved over there also. I mean, it all depends on how you lead the men.
To survive, to live the age that I have
Absolutely.
lived to, all right, and not to be involved. Yes, it takes a lot of leadership skills.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. All right, so that's one book. What is the second book all about?
Well, the second book I've been toying for a long time would be The Underbelly of Los Angeles.
All right, and what would the theme of that book be
Well,
besides?
I'm not sure I'm going to do that one yet. Oh,
So is it going deep into the uh,
Underbelly.
underbelly to uncover what's happening over there and how people live over there?
Yeah,
All right.
of, of the real crimes why, how, who, the different gangs. I've been affiliated with a lot of the gangs here in Los Angeles, the Crips, the Bloods. You know, it's the same thing. It's the same story.
Right.
The need. The need is money. For a young boy, 10, 11, 12 years old, going out and selling drugs and making a few dollars. That's big money. And how they're groomed into life slowly and unknowingly, and how the streets and those boys that you're hanging out with every day, how that becomes your family, not your mom, dad, brothers, and sisters. All right. But how you're taken from your real family, whether you do it on your own or you're taken. Okay. It happens. And how it happens, it's a progressive, slow process.
And I'm sure you have a lot of insights from the streets because you've been there, done that.
Yeah. Because, these guys become your friend.
Right.
They become your family. They become the one. I mean, Christ, if you're not feeling well, you're going to them before you're going to your mom and dad.
Right.
Okay? That's how it becomes.
Right.
All right. Because they're there for you. I got your back, bro. I got your back.
Absolutely.
I got your back, bro, until I get arrested, and then I'm going to rat on you. That's what happened today.
And I completely empathize with what you're saying, Ori, because I just turned 50 last year, but around age 16, when I was still in college, I was part of my college volunteering group. I was raised in a place called Bombay, and Bombay has a huge underbelly of crime and gangsterism. And we have a few underworld dons or mafiosis who are pretty popular in Indian folklore. So you had most of these chaps like Dawood Ibrahim, who's also one of the most wanted men now in India for the uh, attacks which were done in 1992, the bomb blasts of Bombay which happened. And I used to volunteer in a commercial sex work district called Kamatipura. It's pretty much like the underbelly of Bombay, right? And that's where crime breeds. That's where criminals are bred. And working with the kids of sex workers, because I couldn't do much work with the sex workers because as a guy they would find it very difficult to open up to me, while they would open up with the girls who were volunteers. So I started working with the kids. I used to play marbles with them, fly kites, and try to tell them to go to school, because most of the kids wanted to become Dawood Bhai, and then, like Hollywood, we have the Hindi film industry, which is called Bollywood. Bollywood also likes glorifying gangsters, and so most of these kids from the sex work district, whose mothers were sex workers, the girls wanted to become sex workers like their mother, while the boys wanted to become bhai, or brother as it is called. Bhai is a word in Hindi, so the local gangsters are called bhai, which means brother. And they wanted to become a bhai, they wanted to become a brother, they wanted to become a don. And I would keep telling them that, hey, you go that path, like you said, from your life lessons, you go that path, you will either end up dead or you will end up in prison. So be careful about the choices that you make, right? Because those will have dire consequences for you and for your mother, who's working very hard. Because why don't you see that she's working very hard to give you a good education and go to that school and get an education? And I'm very happy to tell you that 100% of the children are now in school in that place, and a lot of children from that time have now graduated, become doctors, become engineers, become choreographers. And it's very gratifying to see that you have made a small difference in your life. And I'm sure that that gratification is what you're feeling when you say that you can actually inspire a lot of people from the underbelly of places in the United States not to walk on that path of the crime, because that path of crime has consequences which could lead to either your death or to a prison. And I think I think the story becomes even powerful because you lived it, you've been there, and you've seen that life very closely. So, Ori, to kind of conclude, if I wanted the audience to know a little more in depth about the book, the book that you've written, which is called The Accidental Gangster, and request you to read from the book. Can you read three chapters for us? Not three chapters, sorry, three paragraphs, which are paragraphs that define some life-changing or mind-altering moments, which are the most closest and dearest to your heart. So three paragraphs from The Accidental Gangster that you hold
How,
near to your heart.
how do you mark time? Some people count the gray hairs on their heads or the lines in their faces. For others, it is the number of children and grandchildren. To many others, it is the joy of growing old with a special loved one, or the accumulation of material wealth or objects they collect, such as art. My marker of time is the people I have kept alive, thanks to the grace of God and some behind the scenes moving and shaking by me. They are still above ground, walking, talking, and breathing. Who am I? My name is Ori Spado. They call me the mob boss of Hollywood. And that's in the beginning of my book, folks. That, in essence, tells you some of the things, most of the things I've done in my life in two paragraphs. But at the epilogue of my book, the very last paragraph, I ask everybody to reach out and join hands. And together, we all can make this world a better place. And I'm asking you to do that today. Once again, let's do it every day. Thank you.
Right, and that's a beautiful thought to kind of share with everybody in the audience. Together, as one, we can all make a difference and make the world a better place, make society a better place, and I think that's beautiful. So, Ori, to conclude, when do we expect to see the movie which tells the story of the accidental gangster to hit the screens?
I
When
can
can we
only
see you on the big
predict
screen and the marquee?
it'll be out next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
And are you going to play a cameo role in it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. I have another friend
I'm-
whose name is Gregory Robert, who's written a book called Shantaram, and his movie was to be, I mean, his book was to be made into a movie with Johnny Depp acting in it. So,
Oh, yeah?
any actors that you zeroed in on to play Ori Spado?
Right now it's Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. All right, brilliant.
Yeah. But guess what cameo role I'm going to play?
Tell us about it.
I'm going to be the judge that sentences me.
Oh, wow. So you're playing the judge who sentences Ori Spado.
Yeah.
Who am I? I'm Ori Spado, and in the movie, I play the judge who sent Ori Spado to prison. Brilliant. Great.
Yeah.
So everybody in the audience who's listening in on Facebook Live, Ori Spado's book, The Accidental Gangster, is available on Amazon. It's available in all the Barnes and Noble stores and several bookstores around the world. Please do get a copy of The Accidental Gangster. And Ori is available on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Send him feedback about the book. And we look forward to watching the movie next year as and when the movie is made and hits the screens. And Ori, any concluding insights and words that you want to share with the audience before we?
Yeah, they could also get my book at my website, and they can purchase an autograph copy there.
Right.
That's the accidentalgangster.com.
Theaccidentalgangster.com is the website where you can also purchase the
A
book.
lot more
Yes.
about me. If they would go there, subscribe to learn a lot more about me.
Right.
Thank you very much for this wonderful day.
You are welcome, Ori. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I would love to know more about your motivational book, and those are the kind of books that I write. So if there's anything I can do to help you with that book, I'm happy to work with you on that.
We should stay in touch on that there one, my friend.
Absolutely. We'll stay in touch. And, we are planning this big event called the Magnificent Seven, where we kind of showcase stories of people who are broken, but have refused to break down and have broken through like you with grit and resilience. It's basically stories of resilience. So we would love to have you as a part of that event also, telling your story with a large audience, which will join in through the internet from around the world. This is going to be a live event where we would have several people who would be sharing their stories. Yeah.
I
And
love to be part of it.
I will stay in touch with you over that and share the stories with you and share the plan with you later. But thank you so much, Ori, for making the time. Pleasure listening into you. I liked that big insight of saying that let go of the past. I completely agree with that. As long as you've atoned and repented for what you've done, I think it's time to let go and look at the future, be grateful. And I think one big lesson which I take from what you spoke about, how you're happy, or how you're enjoying the home that you have, how you're enjoying the freedom that you have. I can see the attitude of gratitude is very strong. And I can say that, you learn that very, very effectively from your days in prison, because I can see that you're very grateful for the life that you have. You're very grateful for the home that you have. You're very grateful to to enjoy this freedom that you have once again. So thank you, Ori Spado. Enjoy your life and keep living it well, and keep inspiring all the youngsters not to walk on that path of crime.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
my
much.
friend. God
And have a
bless.
have a great day. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care.